But I think the key in what you said is the best way to live, right? Like, what does that mean? And I feel like even just defining best is so different for everybody else. Like, some people would hate living in New York City and dealing with the trash and the rats and
Yep.
the smells and the hustle and the bustle and all the things that come along with living in New York City versus living in rural America on a farm somewhere and growing your own food. Like, everyone's idea of what best is so different. And I think what's really interesting is even what we may think is best now could change.
Yep.
And there's this negative connotation. And I feel like maybe we talked about this before of the flip flopping, right? And it's like, there shouldn't be anything wrong with changing your mind as you
Yeah.
attain more information and more knowledge around a topic or a subject or around, then absolutely you should be changing your mind.
Yeah. Well, that's true of even what you just mentioned, because I have always been a big city girl. I'm from Los Angeles, California, right? I've the smallest city I've ever lived in was Tucson, Arizona, right? And that was a small city for me. That was just like, what the heck? And I've always, I mean, I fucking live in Las Vegas, Nevada right now, right? I've lived in the Seattle area and Portland. I've lived in big cities. And I've just told my sister, I want to buy property out in the middle of nowhere, right? I just want to be, I'm like, and it's not because I still love people. I just have a different speed at this point in my life than I did prior. So, although the one thing I do like about New York City, I mean, there's many things I like about New York City. And if I could afford it, I'd live in New York City. Sure. Right. It's not that I'm opposed to it. I love that you can get lost there. It's a huge city where you could be as nondescript and blend in with a billion people around you. How awesome is that?
Yeah. But I mean, you can get lost and I mean, maybe not, but I feel like, Los Angeles is like that.
Sure is. And I love LA. I can't afford to live there either, though. So, you know,
like San Francisco. I mean, it's also what you're familiar with, right? Like, I could easily get lost in like Austin or Denver because I don't know jack shit about those cities.
Right. But it's way harder to get lost in a small town because more people know you. At least here you could get, I mean, here you could, it's why people say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, which by the way is not true. We love to post what you do on the internet. As a visitor, I'm like, oh yeah, let's go hang out at the Strip and take photos of people and put it on our social media. So it doesn't stay here, just so you know. But you can blend in here, and but you can stick out here too, just like you can stick out in New York. So I think it depends on what you want, right? Like I've been thinking a lot about, because we do this and I put it out there, and I put it out there because I want people to hear it, right? Like that's why we do this. At least that's why I do this. And that's why I do build up or shut up. And that's why I'm trying to get, feed your soul off the ground. I'm trying to do all these things because I do want people to hear it. And I want them to go, oh yeah, that's something to think about. Right.
Yeah.
But I don't need to be a star. I'm an old fat lady. It's not on my list of things that I necessarily need. Do I want to make a difference? Yes.
Yeah.
Do I? I'm like, I was saying at first, I don't want to be an influencer. That's not what I'm after. I'm like, oh yeah, it is 100%. I 100% want to influence people. I don't want to influence them to buy, chapstick. That's not what I want them to influence. I want to influence people so they'll say, hey, you know what? Let's talk about this. Let's have a conversation about it and see if we can, help each other and help each other grow, or if nothing else, just be heard. Because sometimes people just want to be heard, right?
That's true. Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
So all of that to say, let's talk about this. This is a random topic I want to bring up, and then you can bring up your random topic. How's that?
Yeah.
So last night, nope. the night before, I watched 2 documentaries on Netflix,
Okay.
and they turned out to be, general similar topics. But I really want to talk about this thought process that I've had. So I saw The Most Hated Man on the Internet. Did you see this documentary?
No, the most hated man on the internet.
Mhm.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
add it to my list.
and I enjoyed the documentary overall. I like Netflix documentaries. They're well done,
Very
right?
well done.
And I started with Money Shot, the story about Pornhub. That was the first one I watched.
Oh,
It was really good, very interesting. And then I watched The Most Hated Man on the Internet, I think is what it's called.
mm-hmm.
And I could see why he was called that. He was the guy that did Is Anybody Up? That's the website, isanybodyup.com, which was a revenge porn website.
Hold on, and it's the most hated. I'm just writing this down.
Yeah.
Man on the internet.
His name is
Yeah.
Hunter Moore, as a matter of fact.
And what was the other one?
Money Shot.
Okay. Okay, sorry.
No worries. So this kid, and he was a kid when he started, he was like 23 years old when he started, is anyone up, right? And what you would do is, if you broke up with your girlfriend or your boyfriend and you were pissed, you would upload their naked photos to this
That's
website.
awful.
And it's even worse than that. And then he would connect all of their social media accounts to it. And then he would get people to say horrible things about these people.
That's so awful.
Hence The Most Hated Man on the Internet. But what was so interesting about it to me was all of the people that supported him and thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread for being a horrible human being. And I'm like, this is my struggle in life at this point, is if all of, and here's the interesting thing though, was like, here is like, again, it's like the hitchhiker, a hatchet wielding hitchhiker, where he was like the hottest thing. So none of these people have I ever heard of. I never heard of that website until I watched the documentary. I am outside of the realm of people that are in the know, right? But apparently it was a huge success. Lots and lots and lots of people followed him. When I say people, I'm going to be teenagers, is probably the truth. And they loved him. They thought he was awesome and brilliant. And some people called themselves the family. And these are people that supported him and like threatened people's lives that were going after him. I was just like, I want to know about those people, right? Like, I wonder about those people. And is that really, is it just fun for you now because it's something to do and you're bored? Or are you really that human being?
Yeah. I mean, that's, unless you get into somebody's mind, you just don't know.
But
right?
what's so interesting is I don't know any people like that. I mean, mind you, it's not one of my interview questions when I'm having a conversation with somebody, but I might throw it in now, like, hey, what did you think of that? Are you, is anybody upside? Just out of curiosity. Because is that who's gonna rule or run our country? Because if they're, I'm like, that frightens me. Right?
I mean, look at who did for 4 years, right? I mean,
no, don't even, yeah.
When we think about,
and who's trying to do it again, possibly. But and what kills me is the religious right supported him.
Yeah. But I heard an interview with this man who was like head of the evangelical church, and they asked him about when the Hollywood Access reporting came out, grab him by the pussy and you can do what you want, and if you're a star, whatever. And he basically acknowledged and said, look, I'm not a fan of this guy. I don't agree with him and his treatment of women, how he talks about people. I cared about the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So they basically sold their souls.
Which again, I can respect the sentiment. I don't agree with it at all, but at least he's not a hypocrite about it. It's a step in the right direction.
I mean, it's still hypocritical though, because even just the policies that they are accepting, it's like if you claim to be Christian and you claim that you care about people and what would Jesus do, and you elect politicians that want to cut Social Security and health benefits and want to cut federal aid and programming for education and for food programs that feed kids. I mean, how are you possibly pro-life or anti-choice and yet don't support these programs that help people? It's like pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's like if you're 10 years old and starving, you can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps. What, you want them to go prostitute themselves? Like it's ludicrous.
Well, but that's I hate to say it in general, and this is a general statement, we can't lump every religious person in to this category, but that's the cutting off your nose to spite your face mentality that a lot of them have. But it isn't all of them. I mean,
it isn't all of them.
I'm a religious person and I don't feel that way.
No, of course. I mean, it's definitely stereotyping, but I'm talking about the religious people who tout the scriptures of Jesus and God and want to get on their high horse about going after drag queens who, how they're infiltrating children and turning them into trans. And it's like, how often do you ever hear about drag queens hurting children ever?
Yeah. I don't think that that's a priority for any drag queen at all, right? No,
versus the church. I mean, there have been years
priests.
And years, right?
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, you want to talk about grooming and actually hurting children. It is well documented that the Catholic Church has covered up tons of abuse for decades.
Right. Yeah.
Decades.
Beyond decades. Yeah. Probably throughout the history, because human beings are human beings. And that is very similar to like seeing this kid, literally there's thousands of interviews of him saying, I don't feel bad. I don't care. I don't know those people. That was his response. And I'm like, wow. And I will tell you this, and man, a lot of it is like, my first thought was, where the hell are his parents? Like, I realize he's 23 now, but he's probably an asshole kid all his life. Like, where were his parents?
He didn't go to jail. He didn't like, there were no repercussions.
Oh yeah, no, he's in prison. He's in prison because he paid a guy to hack accounts. It's not against the law. If you send your photo to someone, apparently they can post it.
So, yeah, but I guess now there are laws against it. If there's someone else in the video, like sex tapes or things, like there are laws against that now.
Yeah, and typically these are, but also a lot of my thing was like probably 99% of those people were minors. Right? So that's another issue on top of that. But what was so interesting was he just didn't care. He wore it proudly, like, I'm a dick. And then he's like, and that was his response about everything was, well, you're going to be sucking my dick. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not. But then, so that was one guy, but then there was all these minions that supported him. And I'm like, at some point, they're like, oh, we were just bored and there was nothing else to do. That was the response. I'm like, and ruining people's lives and being horrible and mean is a choice, is an option on your list of things to do to not be bored. How do we treat these people?
But then again, I will acknowledge, like, I'm a bit of a horrible person. Like last night, I've never seen anything. It was
I mean, typically
literally,
we don't do that in public, right? I mean,
oh, and he would, I mean, it was aggressive.